Hi, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. And thank you so much for joining Mylene and myself today. Now, I can hear a bit of feedback on the line, but I'm not sure whether you hear that as well. So I'm hoping that will calm down as we go through. So today, I'm here with Mylene, and I'm actually really, really excited because if you look through Mylene's profile, I think most people would just be like, oh my goodness, how does she do what she does? This is a lady who's got so many awards behind her name. She's created so much impact with her career so far that I'm really excited to kind of delve in a little bit and understand a little bit as to what drives her, what's important to her. So I can't do Mylene I can't introduce her in a way that I feel is big enough for her. So I'm actually going to hand over to let her introduce herself. And I'd love you to just tell us a little bit about, obviously what you do, because it is amazing, but also why you do what you do.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah, and good afternoon, good evening, and good morning to all our viewers today. I'm Mylene Abiva from the Philippines. I'm the president and CEO of FELTA Multimedia Incorporated. I'm known in the Philippines as the mother of robotics. I'm also a leader in robotics and the pioneer in the Philippines. Our business is a 57-year-old business. It's a family business. We're engaged in school technology. We are a transition business from books to science equipment to producing and manufacturing laptops and two-in-ones and tablets. And now we're into robotics and into AI software. And I'm pleased to share with you my experience as a woman in tech, my journey, and the future of women in tech all over the world. And thank you so much for having me here, Sarah.
That's great. So tell us a little bit, what got you into tech in the first place? Because I mean, this is obviously a big question for all of us, is how do we end up in this space? And I think it helps people understand their journey and what maybe connect with your journey a little bit. If you tell us a little bit about how you got into this space.
That's a good question. 23 years ago, it's all providential. My parents and I, who were my boss before I became the boss, were in a technical trade show. And there we saw a booth of Lego education. And we were surprised that the Lego were moving. There was a carousel, there was a whole new carnival, and it's all moving, and it's all run by mechanics and motors, and that's a simple robotics, and that's how it began in 1999. Then we asked them, do you have any distributor or any partner in the Philippines? And they said no. So after that we said, well, we're interested to introduce it for basic education and teach robotics for basic education because there was none at the time. And they came to the Philippines. Lego Education is from Denmark, and they came to the Philippines and did due diligence on our company. And they said, okay, let's sign a contract. And we did so. And the first few years, I must admit, introducing robotics was, like, I would say, an alien to most for schools. Then we started teacher training, and when teachers would ask what's robotics, they would tell me, is that the movie like Voltus 5? For those who still watch Voltus 5, or is it Transformer? So at the time, it was a very daunting topic to teach for them. So what we did was we taught teacher training with the school caravans. And then we started the Philippine Robotics Olympiad in 2000. We participated in our first international robotics competition in Shanghai. And lo and behold, we won a silver at the time. And the government just said, you won a silver for a technical competition? And I said, yes, and it's in robotics. And then it started sparking, for every spark, there's fire. So it started the fire within us that this is something we want to do. So 23 years forward, here we are today with over 2,000 schools participating in the Philippines. And we have won several awards in international competitions just recently, which we'll share later on, Sarah, is that we just came back a few days ago, 2 days ago, in fact, from Denmark, from the World Robot Olympiad Invitational in Denmark. So that is our journey, and not just in robotics, but actually really in school technology. Say the Philippines may be a developing country, but we are 93% literacy rate in the whole world. We have a very high literacy rate, but giving opportunities, especially for girls in STEM, is an advocacy I really have, because when I started robotics 23 years ago, there were no girls. Only in the last, I would say 5, 8 years, there would be one girl. And that one girl would just be so quiet and meek because she's surrounded by boys in the team. So I said, I would say my talk for parents is that if you have a daughter who's interested in science and technology, why not? Why not? Why not support their daughter? Because in the Philippines, there's still a gender stereotype that girls can only be good in services like tourism, hospitality trade. In the call centers, we have the BPOs here, the IT BPOs. And I said, no, it's not. Technology is not just call centers. You can have an inventor in your house. You can have scientists and engineers. So that has been my journey,
I've got so
Sarah.
many questions.
Very many questions.
What I hear from you is really amazing, because this is exactly what I wanted to pull out, is the fact that actually you've been leading the way in the Philippines in terms of women in tech for a number of years. And obviously everything that you're doing in the business in terms of with schools your aim is to encourage children, but also girls into this, and like lowering the barriers for them to get into it. But why is this important to you? What do you see as like the opportunity?
All right. There's a personal reason why. When I was in high school, I'm sure all of us who have studied or been in high school studied physics, right? Physics, one of the most difficult subjects. I said this and I shared this during my TEDx talk about 5 years ago. And it touched a lot of hearts, because science shouldn't be a scary subject. When I was in senior high school, I know that I had to pass physics so that I can go to university. And I was in the honor section. And when you're in the honor section, it's really very tough because you get double the pressure to get higher grades. And physics was one of the subjects that I dreaded most. And I said, why don't we make science teaching more human? Why not just make it not because of formulas, memorizing formulas, and make it more fun? At the time, my teacher would draw a car on the chalkboard, and then she would tell us, okay, you compute torque, distance, time for this car. And I just see a car on the blackboard, which is so boring. And that's how we were used to learn before. But now with robotics, you can see the glow in the eyes of students, of the teachers as well. And especially for girls to have a voice. Girls who have tactile skills, who have programming skills, and they just want to be able to be recognized for their brilliance.
It's
So
amazing.
that's my story.
I just there's always, isn't there, something that's happened to us that is part of why we try and do what we do. And that's a great story, because there's so much still that needs to change in the education system to be able to encourage girls and actually connect with them on something that they're interested in, and actually makes them start glowing and seeing that actually I can get involved. It doesn't have to be hard. But you've obviously been through this you've grown your career in a very male dominated environment. What are the kind of things that you've come up against, and maybe tell us a bit as to how you've overcome them? Because I think that's really useful.
Well, there's too many to there's too many to say, but I will just highlight on something. When you're in technology, when I was starting as a woman in tech, I would have to be with a room of engineers, and they're all, of course, men. And they would look at me and say, what's she doing here? And I would always have to prove myself. That's the thing about being gender stereotyped, that you're a woman and you don't have a space or a voice in a male dominated field. When at the time, I went through sexual harassment, true enough, and I'm not embarrassed to say it. It's that they would shout at me. I would be treated like a personal assistant, not as partner or not as part of the team, but just somebody to do duties for them. But I fought myself, and I fought back, and I said, no, I'm here as part of the team. I'm here as the leader of this organization, as a Philippine Robotics Olympiad leader and sponsor. By the way, I sponsored your trip here, so and I made it a point even to show to the girls that you have to be able to be yourself, to bring out the best of yourself, and not to fight like boys. I mean, no physical, fighting not that way, but just to prove to them that you have the smarts, you have a place to be here and to be the best that you can be.
Yeah, I love that. So you've stepped into, you took it in as a role model and who you want to be as a role model, and stood for that and stood up for others by taking the position that you have done. So, how have you asked for, because obviously overcoming all of this takes a huge emotional burden, as we both know. So how do you, who supported you? How do you ask for help when you're finding things get a bit frustrating?
Well, of course, you need your family, your spouse, your loved ones to support you, to give you the sanity to go through what you're going through every day. And what happened to me was I became a mountain climber. I took out all my stress into using it as to be one with nature. Climbed mountains. I climbed international mountains. I even climbed Mount Fuji in 2018, and only 2% of half of the Japanese population have climbed Mount Fuji, and as I was told. And I told myself that I can be one with nature. I can show that physically, mentally, emotionally, I'm strong enough to do what I'm doing as a woman, in tech. And you can have a whole, I would say, a well-rounded life. So that I think is how I did it. My family supported me. We climbed mountains together. We also, of course, had our family time, because time management is very important, especially for us women. We do a lot of unpaid work, unpaid domestic work, and we also even manage the finances for some point in the Philippines. Usually the women, and probably in most of the parts of the world, do that as well.
You come on to an amazing point. I mean, literally, this was the first thing that crossed my mind when I read through your bio, was like, how do you manage to fit all this in? So come on, tell us.
Well, I do have a secret. It's called it's called compartmentalization. I know there may not be such a word. Compartmentalization is like, I'm here on this zone. I'm talking to Sarah. I'm talking to our viewers. I zone out everything else. I tell my staff I'm here at the office. Don't bother me for an hour. I'm here. I need to be able to focus on one task at a time, or else I will not do or give my best. And I think that's important. We women, we do 12 things at the same time. We know that, right? We're doing a lot of multitasking, but there are some tasks that needs 110%. I think like one is an interview here is important for me, and time management is essential even in running a business. I give time for my team to speak to me. I give time for my own self to be alone and do the tasks that I need in the work. And of course, you need me time and family time.
Yeah,
So
amazing. You
yeah.
well, you've touched on this in many different ways, but what is important to you as a leader in tech, in a technical organization?
I believe what's important is to leave a positive legacy. I think not just being women in tech, but I think in life, if you leave a positive legacy, then you will be remembered as someone who touched the lives of a lot of people, especially for girls. In my point and your point is it. And a few years back, my late father once asked me, "Stop that, Mylene. That's nonsense. Like bringing all these kids to international competitions, training them, and giving them, we give scholarships as well." And I said, Dad, I told my dad at the time, I said, we touch one life, and that life can be someone who might be the next president of our country,
Yeah.
and someone who will be the leader of our country. But if we don't start now, then when who will? So I think that's my why when I wake up in the morning, is that what would be your motivation to do what you do, as you've asked me, a few minutes back, is that we have to know what is our why. If we just wake up and just go through, the usual routine of our life, then we're just not living our life. But we have to put life in our life. Put
Yeah,
life in
totally.
our life. Yeah.
It comes back to what we were talking about just before we came on camera, which was about impact and what's the impact that we want to create in the world, and how do we measure that. But I love this positive legacy idea, because it is about that. It's how we touch other people more than about what we do. And quite often we focus on the doing, on the, checking boxes, especially those of us who are technically focused. So I love that view of the world, to leave a positive legacy.
Yes. I have actually, when I turned 50, which was about 8 years ago. Yes, that's my age. I just said it to the world. Yeah, I was asked, what is, yeah, your, because I used to be the president of the Philippine Marketing Association. That's another hat that I wore. And again, the Philippines marketing industry is male dominated, just like the tech industry, is that I have, uh, if there are 4 P's in marketing: product, price, place, and promotions, isn't it? The 4 P's of marketing, I have 5 P's in my life. First is to be proactive, positive, physically fit, prayerful, and the fifth one is to be I'm forgetting. Oh, fourth. Yeah, so that's my fourth. Yeah, so I do have my fourth as well. So again, yeah, you have to be positive, proactive, physically fit, and prayerful. So that's my ingredient.
I love it. And the fact that you've just shown that you're human.
Yes, I'm not a robot.
We're just checking. Oh, amazing. Okay. So come on, tell us about some of the things that you're most proud of achieving, because obviously we know that you've just come back from Denmark, but is that it? Is winning these kind of awards what drives you? What is it that you're most proud of?
Well, what I'm most proud of actually is that when I won the United Nations Award for Gender Responsive Marketplace in 2021, and at the same year, I won the United Nations Award for Inclusive Leadership. Those are one of the treasured awards I have, other than what you have seen in my resume, the ASEAN Business Award for SME Innovation last year is one of them, the most recent ones. But the competitions, I believe, I would tell the students, the team members, the winning is just the end. We win or we don't win or we don't win. Being there in an international competition, representing your school, your community, and your country is already a win for us. So the trophy or the medals is just, accessories, isn't it? And we just recently won. The Philippine Robotics National Team won for both elementary and senior high school the Future Innovators Award during the World Robot Olympiad Friendship Invitational in Denmark, held last week. Yeah, September 21 to 26.
And this is honestly amazing. Mylene has just come back from Denmark. So she's back in the Philippines now, but she has just come back from Denmark. So she's doing all of this on a bit of a time difference because she's probably still quite jet lagged. But again, you seem to take all of this in your stride as, yeah, it's just a part of what I do. And coming back from winning something really quite major, and being able to step into still being that role model to say, yeah, and it's the taking part. It's actually showing up and feeling proud of what you can achieve and where you are. I always hear that from you when you speak, is about, it's not about the final goal. It's the journey to get there, and actually being in that, whether that's your career or whether that's what you're helping other people to achieve.
Yes, that's very true, Sarah. I would say that to be a businesswoman, to be an advocate of women in tech and girls in STEM, is to be fearless. I put that in my social media, is to be fearless. A lot of women think that being in this space means you have to be quiet, you just have to, do what the others are doing. But actually, I beg to disagree. You should be the front runner, you should be the leader, and you can lead men as well. I'm not saying that we have to work well with men as well. We have to work with them. I also train boys to be able to be respectful of girls. I tell them that we are a team, regardless of gender. We share ideas, we share our materials and resources. And I think this is really more about character building than what I'm doing than anything else. It's really to have citizens who are good and critical thinkers who will be part of the community and part of the country and nation building.
Yeah.
And I have no plans to run in politics, by the way. Because they might think I'm speaking like a politician. No, I have no plans.
I mean, you talk really boldly, and I love the idea of being fearless. And I think obviously recognizing we all have fear, but that actually to use that as a way to kind of drive you forward is what I'm hearing, and using it as a way to recognize, okay, I don't want to be somebody else. I want to be on this path that I'm on. And yes, it's going to be difficult at times, but that's part, again, like we were saying, it's part of the journey that you've been on and that each of us go on, I guess, in this space. And obviously my business is called Unique You because I want everyone to stand up and show their unique sides, because it is who we are in the world. And that's how we can create most impact, coming back to what you were saying earlier. So I love like pulling all these little threads together that you're throwing out there. It's amazing. So you would like to quickly show this presentation of a little bit of what you're doing. So I'm going to add that to the video now. Hold on. Let's see if this works.
Yes.
Oh, yes. I'm on the wrong slide. Apologies.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Yes. Okay, well, you can run the slides. As I said, FELTA Multimedia has been there for 57 years. In fact, tomorrow we're having a Thanksgiving Mass and a simple celebration dinner. And I just want to quote here what the former President of the United States mentioned in his talk, that we have to think about new and creative ways to engage our young people, such as you, in science and engineering, like science festivals, robotics competitions, and fairs that encourage young people to create, to build, and to invent, and to be makers of things and not to be consumers of things. I think this is the essence of what we're doing in robotics. It's like we're creating solutions for the future of the world. Okay, let's move on. And then we also have been able to build Philippine Robotics Academy. So these are schools within schools where we integrate robotics as part of the curriculum so that we can have a greater scale of children who will be interested in STEM.
Ooh, yeah.
And we also have, yes, for parents, we have the I Create Cafe where parents can just bring their kids to create using different platforms like Minecraft as well, Minecraft education, Lego education products, and even Arduino products, so that they can have useful activities and not just, gaming or just surfing through the internet. So this is really some solution that we have achieved. Yes. And as part of our business model, we partnered with the government. For those educators who are listening right now, it's important for us to have a voice also in a partnership with government. So we have signed a memorandum of agreement with the Department of Education, the Department of Science and Technology, and recently with the Department of Information and Communications Technology. I think being partners with government will be able to scale our programs to a greater height and be the sounding board of all our programs. Yes, and I'm proud to say that like a few of my laurels, is that being World Robot Olympiad, I'm the first and only World Robot Olympiad from 2018. And now I have a new assignment, 2020. We stopped 2021 as a World Robot Olympiad ambassador. But being a woman and being a Filipina coming from a developing country such as the Philippines was truly an honor to be part of it. And I was the speaker or the spokesperson for all the children who would be interested in STEM for the World Robot Olympiad community.
Amazing.
So with that, yeah, as mentioned earlier, we just came back 2 days ago with a victory for the Philippines that our elementary level children, as well as senior high school students, won for future innovators. And our theme is about connecting the world. And this, I believe, are inventions that can be scaled and to be our budding entrepreneurs.
Amazing.
Right. So with that, thank you so much for your time. And thank you, Sarah, for giving me the opportunity to share with you what we've been doing in the Philippines for the Philippine Robotics Olympiad.
I honestly, everything I see about you just amazes me. I think it's so much, you've got so much energy for this, but also you're actually taking action. You're using your position, as a business owner, and being able to have these conversations with different people within, like you're saying, within governments, opening up a space for really challenging how we're educating children, which is amazing in itself, because I've got two daughters aged 9 and 12, but also that you're inspiring people to just try. And I think this is what, like, the embodiment of you I take away from our conversation is, just go out and give it a go. Try what it is. Go find the things that you love. And you never know, you might end up like Mylene, really leading the way and championing. So I would just, I guess, like to thank you for all the work you're doing, but ask if there's maybe one piece of advice that you could give, or you maybe would have liked to have known age kind of 10 or something, that would have maybe helped you in the steps that you've taken.
Well, the only advice I can give really is to be the best that you can be. There's no other person who knows who you are but yourself. Nobody can dictate on what you want to do but yourself. And once you have that North Star, as I call it, is then follow that North Star, because regardless of gender, regardless of your economic status, just go for it. We didn't start 57 years ago. My parents only started with $10 as their capital to a multi-million peso business that we have. So that's my advice is really to be the best that you can be and go for it. Sarah?
Amazing. Thank you. Now, Mylene and I are both in the G100 wing for robotics and automation globally. Mylene's the Philippines head. I'm the head for Germany. And so we're having this conversation really to try and raise the voices of women in tech around the world. And since we've got such an amazing community, I thought what a better place to start than highlighting these voices that we've got within the G100 community. Now, the G100 really is a global organization of women who want to create positive change in the world and support one another. So please go take a look, contact either Mylene or myself. And thank you so much, Mylene, for joining me today. You really are an inspiring character. I think so many people could learn so much from.
Thank you so much for having me, and techies rock.
Take care.